Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters, all good-willed people of the world, regardless of religion. Let's conclude our series about successful choice of the life partner or marriage. Well, we talked about the first three criteria, which were common denominator or belief, that we should seek a similarity of belief in our partner. Then was natural good manners, inborn qualities, like kindness, forgiveness, and stuff like that. And then the third was manners, which could be taught. And now let's just touch base on all of the rest of the qualities that may be present, like wealth, beauty, social position, status, and stuff like that. So basically, a word on other practical advices that people give online. There's a whole world of influencers around in all social media that try to give advices on how to live, how to marry, how not to marry, how to, whatever, divorce, how to basically do stuff in marriage. And a lot of things they say, most notable representatives would be like, for example, people who kind of, let's say, on the men's side against the gynocracy, they call it. For example, Kevin Samuels was a very smart guy, and we have a whole bunch of others, and then on the women's side, there were famous feminists and all proponents of, like, women's independence and stuff like that and everything. So I'm not going to go into details, but both movements, they occupy the poles of the opinion, of the continuum of different opinions. And many things they say are correct, with a caveat. They're applicable only to the society where money is the common denominator, wealth. So basically, people's worth is measured in their ability to buy and sell themselves. And basically, both sides appeal to how fair this exchange is, who acts fairer, who's more just, like men or women, who needs whom more. And that's kind of a one-sided approach. Basically, if you select, one common denominator, something perishable like money or wealth, something that changes over time, yeah. So basically, their word is fairness in relationships, and it's based on money and enjoyment, and each side is simultaneously a buyer and a seller in those transactions, and that therefore, any form, by definition, any form of relationship based on money or wealth is transactional. Be it half an hour with an escort, or a lifetime with a life partner, with wife or husband. It's just different, different lengths of periods, different services, so to speak, different prices. Just like any commercial contract, those relationships are temporary, because the nature of the nominal value of the money, of wealth, is temporary and fluctuating. Basically, it changes. That means that the relationships might change too all the time. And basically, as soon as one side is unable to fulfill the contract, the other side is trying to withdraw or blame or sue or divorce, whatever. So basically, the contract is breached. On the other hand, the religion, which is Islam, it's the most current update to the religion. Religion was always the same. is the monotheism, keeping one being, one deity above the others in all respects. There could not be two best things. There could be only one best, strongest, greatest, only one. There cannot be two greatest things. So that, hence, monotheism, meaning having one God all the time, every second, every millisecond. He was never 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Always one. Because he does not cease to be the greatest. And the greatest is by definition one. Only one can be the greatest. So the religion offers an even more unbiased denominator, independent of wealth, which even poor people can use in exchange. Even poorer people or uglier people can appreciate each other. Their lives are geared towards accomplishing their religious goals. So like earning paradise, avoiding hell. For them, wealth and happiness are only temporary pleasures, just like beauty and marital relationships. Those things are welcome in life, but they're not expected. You know, no one deserves anything. No religious person understands that you don't deserve anything. It's all a gift. Every second of your life, every breath you take, just like in the song, it's a gift. You know, you did not deserve it. It was just granted to you, gifted by the Supreme, you know, who's only one again. And marriage, in its essence, is a religious act because it serves first and foremost the religious purposes of, and which I would cover as a bonus of this lecture. I don't know, maybe you're all sick of listening to me, but nevertheless, if you're interested, I will continue. The perks of marriage are nice and great, but they're not the end goals. They're not the end goals. They're just a result of a good marriage and the good intentions in marriage. The end goal of any marriage or long-term relationships is staying away from the prohibited things that lead you to devastation and catastrophe. And, you know, perform the mandated things, the good things that lead you to eternal bliss, ever-increasing pleasure, enjoyment, indescribable in words. So, let's add a little bonus. Let's throw in a little bonus on top of why and how the Muslims and actually all smart people should marry. Given the above mentioned purpose of marriage that we just mentioned, let's just think about basically the Muslims and all, you know, good-willed people, good-hearted people should marry or have long-term relationships, because actually people want to have, so to speak, you know, body pleasures. You know, let's not name that word that would, you know, basically hinder the propagation of this video on YouTube. But you know what I mean. People have body needs, bodily pleasures, and, you know, that they want, and desires that they want to fulfill. And in any religion, especially in Islam, all other forms other than marriage are prohibited. That includes escorts, that includes self-pleasuring, strictly prohibited. You know, there's no escape, there's no cheat on that route. And so for that reason, if you feel bodily desire, you have to marry, and then it's okay. The other big, huge benefit of marriage, why people should marry, is to earn rewards for teaching the family the religion and the path to eternal bliss, to happiness, the path to happiness, even in this life. the path to justice and kindness, and to avoid oppression, and to avoid being oppressed, and to earn good, clean money, and to spend on yourself, on your family, and on, people in need, the sick, the poor, the orphans, and etc., on your parents, which is a huge duty neglected these days, but unfortunately, including by Muslims. Um, so if your family, if you, by teaching them your religion, you will help them avoid hellfire and earn paradise. This is a huge reward. You'll receive a reward equal to their reward. Another reason, for example, for the Muslims and for the all good people, is to increase the number of good people. You teach people justice. You teach the kids justice, be it religious justice or be it normal societal justice, which are pretty much the same. And it's just in the religion we perform justice for and by the order of the highest, of the supreme being. And therefore we are rewarded by that being in the hereafter also, in addition to this life. But if you perform good deeds and you just because you think justice is good, then you will get rewarded in this life as well. No fair person will go unrewarded by in this life, because it's an equilibrium that must be maintained at all times. And so we need to increase number of people like that. That's the only way forward, and so we could overpower the bad people in any elections, for example, or in any in the street or somewhere, like people with good minds, with like sane attitudes would prevail over people with bad intentions, the people who cheat and lie and extort, etc. If you love a good person, that's another perk in the hereafter, and even in this life. If you love and cherish a good person, especially if it's a religion person, he or she, doesn't matter. So if you express your love and you support and you cherish a good, loving, religious person or not a religious person, that's a great benefit in this life. And of course, if that person is Muslim, there'll be a great benefit in hereafter, in the paradise. So you can establish good example to people around you with your marriage, with your relationships. People look at you and see, look, how they behave with each other, how respectable they are, towards each other, how the kids respect them, how they obey them. This is really good. And someone young can see, I want a family like that. I want to be respected just like that, and to do good things, and to support the society, support the neighborhood, support the people in need, and good, for example, support the law, like help the police in a good way. And I mean not just being a snitch, but help the police establish an order, establish good working society around you. Help this way, you're helping yourself pretty much. What else? For the Muslims specifically, if your kids keep praying for you after you're gone, that constitutes an ongoing charity, and their prayers will be heard and accepted for their deceased parent, and the parent will be rewarded in the hereafter. Also, a huge reward for the believers is that you will continue living in the paradise with your spouse or spouses, ever young, ever healthy, enjoying each other, without any needs, without any unfulfilled desires, in ever increasing happiness and bliss, which is hard to even imagine by our imperfect human minds. Um, and then, well, and then the last but not least, having affection, support, and company in this life, it's huge. It's important. You cannot survive alone. Look at these like dark, cold nights of a winter, or lonely, summer nights where everyone's out and people enjoy each other's company. Lonely is not the way forward. You need the company. Humans are social animals. They need company. They need support. They need validation of some kind. Um, Also, in addition to what I've just said, men specifically should marry to protect women, and they would get rewarded for that. So if men protect, for example, widows or orphans, like let's say there is a widow who lost her husband in some accident or due to illness, and she becomes alone and like unprotected with no money, and then you can take her, and depending on other conditions, of course, on the criteria, but that's one of the ways to save her from poverty, from being in despair, and you will be rewarded for that because she's Muslima, she's a believer. Or even if she's a nice person, if she's a good person, she's from Christians or from the Jews, and you help her out and marry her and support her kids, for example. Or if a young girl, a young lady who wants to marry, and she's an orphan, she has no big, great support of family, she has no money, she's pretty poor, but she has other good criteria and quality. That's another good deed if you marry her and support her and, basically elevate her worldly status. You will be rewarded for that. And the last reason for which you should marry, last but not least, men, Muslim men, is to free slaves, and to free female slaves. And it's not as obsolete as you think, because there are a lot of slaves even nowadays, even though they're not called slaves, but they're slaving away because of the credit debt and because of the inability to switch workplaces, because they have to pay their huge bills and stuff like that. They are really slaves, and slavery didn't go away. It just got renamed. So if you, for example, by marrying someone due to other criteria, of course, you basically save someone from such slavery and being enslaved by debts and everything, and and all the everyday's routines. You will get reward. Absolutely, that's like freeing slaves. Why women should marry, specific to women. There is a great benefit in women having a husband, is because it makes it much easier for women to fulfill obedience of authorities. And obedience of authorities is very important in the religion, in everyday life. It's one of the so-called foundations of Islam, foundations of religion, to obey authority. That obedience comes third after obeying Allah and obeying the messenger. And so that makes it very easy. Basically, the wife obeys her husband in everything. She basically slaves to her husband, and she this way she fulfills that duty completely. She doesn't have to worry about listening to which scholar said what, who's the authority in the country. If there are some fighting like groups or some kind of like opposition, she doesn't have to worry about the opposition. She fulfills her duties by obeying the husband. Of course, if he's a righteous and not obviously, deranged individual. So that's a huge reward right there. And let's turn that light on. And another benefit specifically for women, not benefit, a specific reason for marrying is feeding the hungry or fasting Muslims. So if she cooks and feeds her husband and kids, she fulfills that huge duty and gets enormous reward. And the last one is the earthly benefit for a woman is to have safety. We all know that, this world isn't as safe as we wish it to be. And streets are not safe, anywhere in the world, pretty much. Even though some countries claim to be safer than the others, the difference is really marginal, depending on who the criminals are. So a woman is much safer in the family, in a good, loving family, rather than alone in any country. So let's see. Let's see how the Muslims or good people, good-willed people, should marry. Let's see the criteria, the last stroke of this long lecture and long series of talks. So an advice to all Muslims. Okay, so if he or she is a confirmed learned Salafi student or scholar recommended by an older, recognized scholar known in the institutions of faith, very well known around the world and supported by other by other scholars in giving the permission to teach. And if person like that tells you that this is a student, this is a good student of religion, that already is a huge sign that you must marry that person. You should run, you should grab that person, and even if you, for example, if it's a guy, marry him even if he has already 3 wives. Go and ask him, send someone and ask him to marry you, because he would support. And if it's a woman, even if she was like widowed 3 times and she has 5 kids, if she's knowledgeable in the religion, acknowledged by other scholars, marry that woman. Marry her, because she will bring huge benefit to you and to your future kids. She will be support, and she because she will do things because of her love for God, of her love for the Supreme, for Allah, because of her love and fear and obedience, not just because of you. Even if you wouldn't see, she would never cheat, or he. Even if she would be or he would be on like an uninhabited island, they wouldn't do bad things, and it wouldn't be because of you. It would be because they fear the higher authority, the highest authority. So that's the number one category to immediately propose marriage. I mean, by legal means, through social channels, etc. In general, marry a reasonably average-looking, well-known Muslim, a well-known Muslim girl, a well-known good person in the circles of your good friends. If it's Muslim or she's Muslim, they should be God-fearing and fulfilling their duties with good reputation. And it's very important that this person should be also attracted to you physically. It's very important. It should not be understated. I couldn't overemphasize it, because physical attraction means a lot, especially in the beginning of marriage. It's the beginning of love that then later grows into something much bigger. But there must be physical attraction. Well, they must be known in the society. Don't marry someone unknown. Your neighbors, your family, your extended circles, they should know that person. It should be someone's sister, someone's brother. It should be someone's peer in at work or in college or something. They should be known. People should know them. Never buy a cat in a bag, so to speak. You don't know. Don't marry someone who other people don't know. They say, "Oh, I don't know who that is." Nobody knows. She's just you met her in the street, in the bar, and then you decided to marry. No, you must learn about these people. Learn from other people how they are, because the young people, especially young people, they never show their real selves, and they try to hide bad qualities and and show better qualities. It's like that this filter existed long before the social media, and that filter people wear subconsciously all the time. And when it goes off, then you would see the real person, and maybe you wouldn't like her or him. So better verify he or she is prior to committing. And marry as soon as possible, as early as possible. And by marrying, again, I don't mean sign any contracts with the government, because those are not beneficial. By marrying, I mean, announce it in Islamic way, marry Islamic way if you're Muslim, or announce it become like long-term girlfriend and boyfriend, absolutely exclusive, as early as possible if you are non-Muslim. But if Muslims, you must marry, and according to the Muslim tradition, and as early as possible, as early as it's remotely legal, and I know there will be a lot of haters in the comments, but marry as soon as possible, and that's my advice. Because first of all, early age is the most reproductive age. You can have many kids, in your life. You can have 9, 8, 10 kids, just like our grandparents had. You can remarry early in case something happens, let's say divorce, or God forbid, some disaster, or if you get widowed, something. Well, your hands will be freed up early in life. You'll be still strong and physically, sound, and you'll be able to go enjoy your life and do more things, more useful things. For example, for Muslims, you'll be able to obey and to worship more. You'll be still strong, and you still be able to earn a lot of money, for example. And also you'll be able to take vacations, and you'll be still, capable of moving around and stuff like that. And you'll be able to support your kids if they decide to marry early. You can support them with money and let them, give them like a head start in life. Health is very important. Health it starts declining pretty early, especially if you don't take good care of yourself. So marry early, so you're still in good health when your kids need you the most, your support, before they, basically learn how to fly on their own, so to speak. Well, also, when you're young, you're very hot, and like your spirit is hot, and you want everything. You have very strong desires, physical desires. So by marrying early, you prevent yourself, you help yourself avoid those bad desires, those sins that you might commit, the cheating, looking at other individuals, men or women. That women are also prohibited from looking at men, with lust and desire, just like as men are prohibited from looking at other women with lust and desire in Islam. And it would be very beneficial for the non-Muslims too, because this way you won't be wasting your attention to anyone else. You'll be concentrated on one person and exploring that relationship. And also, you will get discipline. You will have more time to discipline, to watch your health, your beauty, and learn and maintain good manners, and to how to behave in the family, among your wife, together with your wife, among the kids, among the relatives. Now, a couple of words that Islamic marriage treats the divorced people differently. For example, for a man, a divorced woman is still better than a woman that had not married, and she's already older than 18, and that had not been married for longer than a year, since she was 19 or 18, and she's now like 25, 26, 30, and she has never been married. That's a red flag. That's a huge red flag. So, but if she's divorced and she has been lawfully married, like for a long time, like before or even divorced twice or three times, doesn't matter. If she's always been in a marriage, not just in the streets, or looking for a husband, that's way better than if she cannot pick anyone and she's still a virgin at like 25, 26, like 9, like I don't know, like 30. So divorced women is not as bad as many life coaches would tell you. And then but if you marry a divorced person, man or a woman, ask to see the divorce certificate. You must be certain, or talk to the witnesses of the divorce if it was Islamic divorce. It basically, you must be certain that it was a divorce and not just like basically putting out and around. You have to be sure that it was a divorce and not just like enjoyment for like hot 20s, hot summer. Yeah, like I said, over 23 and never married, it's a red flag. Why? Because it means that person cannot choose and doesn't want to live with an average guy or average girl, average looking girl. So if the guy doesn't want to marry at 25, what is he doing? Is he masturbating? How does he satisfy his earthly desires? His body. What is he doing? Unless he really he fasts a lot and does tons of sport and just totally busy all the time, then maybe we can give him benefit of a doubt that okay, he can't find a good girl and stuff like that. But if he's just a regular guy, she's a regular girl, and she's not married at 25, 27, means that something is wrong with her or his perception of the other counterpart. That they're too picky. You see what I mean? Too picky, either in appearance or in wealth or some other criteria, or their criteria is totally wrong. So, yeah, never married is a big red flag. In Islam, so basically, to sum it up, the non-virgin partner is not a problem, but never married non-virgin is a big problem. Remember that. Okay, with kids is not a problem if from legal spouse or adopted, and basically. But remember, for Muslims, you cannot give them your name. In Islam, there's no adoption. You must call them brothers and support them, but you cannot call them your kids. You cannot call them son or daughter. Because in Islam there is no adoption, because it's like you're claiming someone else's child. You should always call them by their parents' names, and always remind them that they had parents. If, for example, or they're diseased or they're somewhere else, or you must take care of them, but you cannot claim them as your kids, because each person has their own lineage, which must be known and confirmed. And let's say if I have something else. Well, in Islam, husband is the owner of the kids. I know it's not the case in the Western countries, but if both spouses are God-fearing, they should remember that. Husband provides for the kids, but he should never prevent their mom from communicating or hanging out with the kids. He should never prevent their mom from seeing them. It's very bad. It's extremely not good. It's a sin, basically. You cannot prevent, unless she's a known criminal, like convicted criminal, or a psychopath, or a psychologically insane. So for example, if the spouse is older, there's no problem. If she or he was married before and not just hanging out, that's fine, as long as they have been in a legal marriage all this time, and it ended somehow. But they weren't just unoccupied, they weren't just living on their own, and then decided to marry. It's fine if they're older, of course. And basically, if they're continuously or repeatedly married prior to this marriage, there is no problem. Older and never married, avoid like plague. Be it a man or a woman. Don't approach them. It's too risky. it means that something is wrong. Something is awfully wrong with them. That they did not agree to anyone in a long time. Now, for men specifically, never marry the most beautiful girls. I mean, I guess everyone tells you that, right? Why? Because it's very, unless in Islam, unless they cover themselves, but they're not seen at all. They cover themselves completely, or they stay at home a lot, and very few people saw them, without, outside of their families. And they just tell you that she's really beautiful, for example, but you have not seen her. She covers herself so well, and stays at home a lot. Of course, social media posting of herself is completely out of bounds. I mean, it should not exist. That's the condition that you can consider marrying beautiful girl. But if she's just beautiful and she's around and people see her and she puts her, she basically advertises herself on social media, then it means that she's already broken, like a broken defective, because she already knows that she's beautiful. People tell her that she's beautiful, and that's how she gauges herself. She has a high price for herself. And maybe the price is just too high for a regular guy, or even for a regular guy. I mean, why would you want to pay for something that goes away? Beauty, like in 5 years, the beauty will be gone in anyone, Well, after a couple kids, the beauty is gone. That's it. Love remains, but the beauty is gone. Okay? Now, again, marry the first available, Marry the first available. He or she has arms, head, legs, more or less average, normal, does good stuff, God-fearing, good person, afraid to do bad things, doesn't want to do bad things in life. Marry her. Marry that guy. If he's a regular, normal guy, he looks to be good with other people and all other criteria that we talked about, yeah, marry him. Why? You don't waste your life. Don't just like sit around and like wait for someone extraordinary to save you. Also, don't wait for love. The love that we hear on TV or in movies and stuff like that, it doesn't exist. That kind of love should only be applied to God, to the supreme being. That love that they talk about, that you are my savior, you are my like everything. I breathe for you. I wake up for you. I go to bed for you. I do everything I do for you. Those words should only be uttered towards God, towards Allah, the supreme being, the most supreme, Those words are not for people. And if she insists on any kind of exclusivity and singularity and, exclusive like worship like language or anything of he demands exclusive things, exclusivity and singular, like singling out in actions and everything, that's already a bad sign. That's, you may accidentally step even in the polytheism and paganism if you do that. So avoid that. Love comes, true love and respect and appreciation comes with time. As long as you're attracted, that should be enough, have physical attraction. And in fact, you should never fall in love, because this way you always be objective in judgment, and you will not have a fear of abandonment and do stupid things out of that fear. So it's better that you never fall in love as they describe on on social media, in the movies and stuff like that. That love it should not exist from person to person, like I said. For women specifically, you should marry a reasonably average-looking Muslim, good-fearing man who can provide. If they have some means to provide the bare minimum, like daily food, simple homemade food, or like one change of clothes, and as long as it covers your beauty and provides protection from the elements, yeah, marry that guy. Why not? Don't wait for a millionaire or billionaire. I mean, those guys are usually nuts or not good. You know, they have their own quirks because they're usually people who grew up in rich families. They're slightly spoiled. You know, not slightly, but you don't want to like find out that you waited for such a guy and he's an ass basically. And don't marry the richest, like I said. Don't marry the highest in the power, unless they're very pious and they're very well known and they study religion. But I mean, it's almost impossible to find people like that who are in power or very rich, because they're all often lazy, spoiled, and unambitious. You know, they won't take you anywhere. Like, they won't take your family on your spiritual journey anywhere. Okay? Don't wait for a man who would save you from your own sadness, from your depression, from your situation. He's not a doctor. You need to find a psychologist or take medication if you have deep, unrelenting depression or sadness. That's not a good sign. And there are also other criteria. The doctors know them. It's not a medical advice, of course, but if it lasts longer than a couple of weeks, and if it repeats very often in terms of a year, then probably it's a time to see a doctor and not wait for a guy who would come and save you on his white Mercedes and drives you away, and then you fly to Tahiti and you'll be great, and then everything will go away and you'll be not sad any longer. It's not gonna happen. It will only get worse because you cannot run from yourself. And it will get worse because if you get into unfamiliar situation, it always gets worse. So if you have a problem, if you have sadness or anxiety, deal with it, because no one's gonna help you. No one will be able to help you other than a doctor, if Allah wants it, if the Supreme wants it. Okay, and otherwise you will traumatize yourself, your family, your kids, your spouse, and jeopardize your marriage. Okay? For girls, don't marry without physical attraction. Don't. Even if he's the richest guy in the world, don't marry, because you will feel awful. You will feel like puking every day. You have physical attraction. Okay? And that's and also for Muslim girls, for Muslim women, be prepared mentally, work on it. Be prepared that he might bring another woman one day, or two, or three. You must be prepared for that. And if you're thinking, I will not let it happen, or it's not gonna happen, I'm better than that, I will be the best, and that he would never want it, that's delusion, that's delirium. All men want more than one woman. Trust me. All men, even like the most romantic, the best, the most loving men, they want more than one woman. That's nature. More than one woman. That's nature, in nature of all men. Look, for example, even the disbelievers, most of the time, people that I know in my life, in my half a century, I knew that they had wonderful families, wonderful wives, and they almost always have lovers. Sometimes multiple lovers throughout the years. So a legal spouse is much better than an illegal, lover somewhere else. And it's much more honest, much more fair that he would support another woman and her child and have a share in his inheritance, in his property, for her and for her child too. So men, don't be thieves, don't be cheaters, don't be like a dog who eats from garbage, eats some shit in the street, even though there's like a full plate inside home. And for women, don't expect, there's a Russian proverb saying a wolf always is looking towards the forest. No matter how much you feed the wolf is always looking towards the forest. Means that in the nature of a wolf to long for the forest, regardless of how much you domesticate him. So women, be prepared that one day, Your man may have a spouse, another lady, another girl, and don't treat it as an end of the world. As long as you're treated fairly and she's treated fairly, and you both don't anger Allah. So in all your dealings, fear the Supreme, fear Allah. Don't trespass. Don't trespass where He prohibited you. Fear breaking the societal laws. Fear being unfair. Fear mistreating people, offending people, frightening people. You must be afraid of doing that, because you will get a recompense which would be very, very painful and lasting for thousands of years, maybe. Even if after that you will be admitted to paradise, it may last for like eons, until your soul is cleansed from the sins you committed. And also for the disbelieving friends, for disbelieving people, for people who are not Muslim, improve your society by doing what's good. Improve the world, starting from what's around you, from your kids, from your family. Spread the good and you'll get the good in return. That's how the world works. With that, I'm going to conclude this series on marriage and finding a good spouse. And I wish you the best of outcomes. And I wish you a lot of patience in difficulties. And I wish for all of you, my friends and my brothers and sisters, paradise and rewards in this life and in the ultimate life.